beautiful friends. It's Amanda here, and today we're going to talk about a brand new collection coming very soon from Oden's Eye. This is the Alva collection, and it includes four 16-pan palettes and 12 lip colors. Of those 12 lip colors, 6 are the Shine lip gloss formula, and 6 are matte liquid lipsticks. All of the lip colors are going to be priced at $13.90 each, and the palettes are $43.90 each. That's all in US dollars. I'm not sure if they're going to have any sort of bundle deals or sets or anything like that just yet. I am recording this before the official announcement by Oden's Eye, so if I get any updated info, I will add that either in the description or in a pinned comment for you. This Alva collection is launching Tuesday, July 1st, and I have all the times listed on the screen for you so you can figure out when that is in your time zone if you're interested in snagging any of these at launch time. And if you do decide to purchase anything from the Alva collection, then you can use my affiliate code. It's just my first name, Amanda, and that will save you 10% on your purchase. And that affiliate code will apply to most things on the Oden's Eye site, just generally not collaboration items. So let's start first with the 12 lip colors. This video is going to be focused on giving you close-ups, swatches of everything, a whole lot of comparisons for the palettes later on. I do have a couple of follow-up videos that I'm interested in doing featuring this Alva collection. Because it is so large, I feel like we have a lot of different content that would be relevant for different videos. I definitely want to do lip swatches of the glosses and liquid lipsticks, and I would love to do, of course, some looks with the palettes, maybe a palette bingo, a palette redesign. Let me know what you actually want to see because I want to make sure that I'm producing videos that truly are helpful or at least entertaining for you. Like I mentioned before, there are 6 glosses and 6 matte liquid lipsticks, and we're starting first with the lip glosses. Packaging wise, these are the same style components that we've seen from previous Oden's Eye lip product releases. All 12 lip products have that same skinny slanted applicator that we have seen previously from the brand. The glosses have a pink and yellow ombre on the tubes, and then the matte lips have a green and yellow ombre design. Otherwise, you do need to look at the shade name labels since there's no window or clear section to view the actual colors inside. I have a feeling that one of the biggest criticisms for this collection will be that a lot of the lip colors are really similar, especially amongst the glosses. And I personally had that reaction when I first opened these up and started swatching all of the lip colors. I don't think that you need all of these by any means. If you look at the gloss shades Dusty Burgundy, Latte Lily, and Citrus Camellia, they are all slightly different undertones, but a very, very similar shade. And I think there are a couple that are pretty darn comparable amongst the liquid lipsticks, although I do think the liquid lipsticks have a greater shade variety overall. If you prefer a more rosy or mauve undertone, then stick with Citrus Camellia and Nude Nectar from the Liquid Lips. For those who prefer a neutral brown undertone like myself, go with Latte Lily or Cream Petal. Ultimately, I do think that they're similar enough that you wouldn't want to spend on all of them, but different enough that somebody really is going to benefit from those differences in undertone. I'll give you more of my thoughts and opinions on the lip products in my upcoming lip swatch video, but for now let's move on to the palettes, starting first with the spring palette. I am very happy with the layout that they chose. All of these Seasons palettes are a perfect 50-50 split of mattes and shimmers, and they even have them all in the same alternating layout, shimmer matte, shimmer matte. From a personal preference standpoint, I absolutely love this. I find it pleasing to the eye. I find that it helps me to create well-balanced eye looks. Overall, I just love the 50-50 split. I know some people prefer more mattes or more shimmers, and I get that, but I'm living my best life right now because these are truly made to my specifications. For each palette, I will show you my typical finger and brush swatch like this, where I just do the brush swatches with a clean e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush. I'm not dampening my brush. I'm not using any primer. This is just the shadow straight onto my skin. That way you can get an idea for how it performs with different application methods. Then I'll show you a close-up where you can see the shade names labeled. And hopefully this gives you a good look at what that texture really looks like on the skin, because some of these shimmers are quite different. Some are really sheer, sparkly, topper type of shimmers. Others are more standard shimmery metallic formula. And then we do have a couple of very foily shades as well. So hopefully you'll be able to get a distinct look at those differences in these super close-up swatches. And then for each palette, I'm going to show you two comparisons. And then if there are more comparisons you want to see in an upcoming video or in a YouTube short or something, just leave those requests in the comments and I'll try my best to get through as many of those as I can. I don't always have every single palette that is requested for a comparison, but if I have it, I most certainly will include it in an upcoming video or short. When it comes to this spring palette in comparison to the Hey Reindeer palette, I don't think these are incredibly similar. We've got probably two, three shades in here that are dupes, and otherwise, I would say some similar vibes and maybe some similar eye looks could come out of these two. But in general, there's so few one-to-one matches that I would say these are more of a sisters, not twins type of comparison. However, that is not the case for another holiday palette. This is the Rosy Jingle palette. These two are a lot more similar, in my opinion. You can tell just by looking at them side by side that pink and baby blue color combination is really what made me reach for the Rosy Jingle palette for a comparison. And I think these are a lot more similar. We have a lot more one-to-one matches, and I do think you would get a lot more similar eye looks. So if you already have the Rosy Jingle palette from a previous holiday collection purchase, then I would say you can very safely skip the spring palette. Or conversely, if you missed out on one of these holiday palettes, maybe this color story is what you've been waiting for from Oden's Eye. Next up, we have the summer palette. This is the Very Blue eyeshadow palette. And now that I spent a couple years forcing myself to become a blue girl, I actually think this is potentially my second favorite, believe it or not. This might still be in third place, but it's super close. And I have to say, I love the swampy grayish greens that are in here, particularly the shade Festival. I absolutely love that color. It is my grungy Moss Girl summer fantasy dream of a color. And it looks a little bit dull and bland in the pan, but when you see it swatched, it has such a beautiful greenish, silvery, khaki, olive, weird undertone to it. I know I just did the worst job describing this color, but it's such a standout. I want to wear it every day, and that's what really pushes me to think that this might actually be my second favorite. I'm sure you can guess which one is my first favorite. Well, maybe not, because there is a green palette and a purple palette. So maybe I'm still keeping you on your toes. We're keeping the mystery alive a little bit here. I like the surprising pop of foily red shimmer in this palette. It's not what I would have predicted at all for a summer palette, and I kind of like that. I like being surprised, but I will kind of spoiler alert on the review portion. I will say I do think that these color stories as they are are gorgeous, but I do think that all of them are assigned to the wrong season. That's just one girl's opinion, okay? Don't shoot the messenger. I'll get more into that later. First, I have to show you comparisons. This Christmas Eve palette being a very largely blue palette from a previous holiday release was the first thing that came to mind for me. And seeing them side by side in the pan, I think you can tell that the Christmas Eve palette has a lot more variety, whereas the summer palette is much more of a blue monochromatic color story. Ultimately, I don't have a lot of one-to-one shade matches between these two palettes, but I do think they are another case of similar vibes, two palettes that would work well in conjunction with one another, but not necessarily turning out the exact same types of eye looks. Also, I had to find a way to use my Eternal Twilight palette. This has become a workhorse in my comparison portions of my videos. Because of these really warm, bright tones, I think that throws off the in the pan comparison look. But when you see these swatched together, there are a lot more one-to-one shades that are close to one another versus the Christmas Eve palette, which I think looks more similar side by side in the pans. This one is more similar side by side in swatch. But of these four new Alva palettes, I do think that the summer palette is one of the more unique color stories. At least that's the case within my collection. Okay, let's talk about the autumn palette now. This one, I've really got a lot of ups and downs with this autumn palette because if you've watched my channel, if you know anything about me, I love fall. I am a fall girly. I have literally a fall collection with another brand that is on the market right now. I love fall. I'm a pumpkin girl. I am supposed to love a fall palette, and there are shades in here that I do love. And in fact, I like this whole color story. But again, I don't think that this screams fall. There are certainly some fall colors in here, and with a little bit of a tweak, I could really see this as a beautiful starting point for a fall palette. To me, this just looks so springtime. It's very, very light. If we look at the shimmer shades, half of the shimmers in here are super light, like white based light shades. There are an awful lot of very soft pastel-y type of colors in here. It's just not giving any sort of grungy murkiness at all. And I realize that's only one vision of fall, but this also isn't giving that classic, bright red leaves, apple picking type of vibes either. To me, this just feels very light, soft, fresh, springy blooms type of color story, which I like. And I think that if I was told this is the spring palette, I would love it. It sort of reminds me of like a Flora Story adjacent type of color, which that was a very spring color story in my mind. So I think that's really throwing me off. I do love the greens in this palette, and that's what made me pull the Stone and Rock palette for our first comparison because those bright springy greens, along with a little bit of that murky deep green as well, I just felt like it would be a reasonable comparison, and it's not bad. You could convince me that like five or six of these shades were reasonable dupes, which is a pretty high match ratio from the point of view of somebody who does a whole heck of a lot of eyeshadow comparisons. There are quite a few one-to-one dupable shades amongst these two, but we are missing some of those pivotal mauve, peachy, yellow tones that really set this autumn palette apart. And I think if you have the Stone and Rock palette and Snow Dream, then you could make a very, very reasonable attempt at a dupe of the Autumn palette. Neither one on its own is a good enough match for me to call them dupes, but if you combined them, you could pull some of those light tones, some of those yellow and peach and mauve type of colors, and you could make a pretty reasonable play at a full dupe. I also noticed during this comparison that those really, really light matte shades in the Snow Dream palette were quite a bit softer and easier to work with than the light mattes in the Alva Autumn palette. Could just be me, but that was my experience. Lastly, we have the Winter palette, and if you guessed that this would be my favorite, then you have guessed correctly. This is by far my favorite shade selection of the four palettes in this Alva Seasons collection. I love the variety. We've got some rosy, rich burgundy colors, lots of purple, a little bit of green, some duochromes, some really soft, easy breezy little neutrals. I love these colors. This is far and away the standout for me. As soon as I saw this one, I knew it was going to be my favorite, and further swatching and using them has absolutely confirmed that for me. So, if you're keeping score here, that means that the Winter palette is my favorite. In second place, just barely, is the Autumn palette, which is crazy to say because my favorite season you would think would be my favorite palette. But Autumn would be second, and then very, very close, hot on the heels in third place is the Summer palette. That's the all blue one. And then my least favorite is Spring. I just don't really love pink. I don't gravitate towards pink, and there's a whole heck of a lot of pink. Now, this sort of lavender, lilac, burgundy take on pinks I can handle. I actually can really enjoy that, especially when paired with these other shades like golds and neutrals and really, really rich jewel tones. The first two rows, so the top eight shadows, are a great supporting cast, but I think where this palette really shines are the bottom two rows with these rich, interesting jewel tones. I love the shade Lazy. It has that really fine holographic sparkle throughout. This grungy bluish gray shade called Wool. So beautiful. I think it's going to look great on a lot of people. And it's an interesting but still approachable color story. And that's how I feel about this Jewels and Gem palette. It always works out that when I'm doing comparisons, my favorite palettes previously end up being comparisons for my new favorite palette. So I guess it's just a convoluted way of saying I definitely have a type. Only one or two exact matches among these comparisons, but lots and lots of similar shades. And I'm not surprised because a lot of the things that I loved about the Jewels and Gem palette, I find myself enjoying also in the Alva Winter palette. And I could practically say the same thing about this Moon Wish palette, another one of my favorites from Oden's Eye. Moonwish is definitely a bit more blue leaning than the winter palette, but you can tell just looking at the eyeshadows in the palettes here, there is a decent amount of similar shades, definitely similar vibes and similar eye looks that would come from these two palettes. I would say the whole front half of these swatches, like top two rows of winter, are pretty much exactly what's in Moonwish. It's again those darker shades that really set this palette apart. And obviously, we just don't have those deep gray, murky, rich jewel tones in the Moonwish palette. That one just goes a little bit brighter with those shades. Now, here's what I think. I think that the summer palette is beautiful. I think that that one should have been the winter palette. I think that the spring palette, again, kind of makes sense for spring, but I think it makes even more sense for summer with that intensity, the brightness and boldness of those shades. It's just a little bit more summer for me. Maybe it also reminds me a little bit of the ColourPop Malibu Barbie palette, which very much reads as a summer palette to me. I should do that comparison in an upcoming video. That'd be interesting. And then I already said, I think that the autumn palette is a lot more fresh, light, springy color story. And winter, it works for winter. I'm not as concerned about that one not matching up, but I think that it works even better for autumn. And of these four color stories, this is the most autumnal, in my opinion. Ultimately, it is just one girl's opinion, but I'm curious to know what you think about this. Do you think that maybe it should be in even a different order? I am dying to know what you think about rearranging the seasons. What do you think about these color stories? What types of videos do you want to see coming up next? I'm not a big fan of just one and done reviews, especially for big collections. I like to continue to do more videos about these bigger collections, even though I'm going to be honest with you, subsequent videos are not well viewed. They're not well received by the algorithm or by viewers in general. But as a reviewer, I get a lot of value out of continuing to use them, and I hope that at least somebody else is getting some value out of it as well. I would love to hear what you want to see, what you think about these products, which things are your favorites. I always love to hear what you think about things too, even if we disagree. So make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, I love your little face, and I'll see you real soon in my next video. Bye!